2002 I was done competing. 2000 I was done competing. At that point in my life, I was an assistant coach. I graduated from the University of Iowa in '93. I stayed there for a year, and I was antsy. I was like, I need more than my 2-3 workouts a day. I'm losing myself, right? So I accepted a position, assistant coach position, a second assistant position at Oregon State University. Coach Joe Wells, remember Joe Wells, and Randy Couture was the head coach, or the assistant coach. And I was out there for 2 years, and after the '96 trials, when my brother and I decided to give it 4 more years to try to make a World and Olympic team, we knew that we had to stay somewhere close together. So I went out there in '94, Troy came in '95, and we were there for a year. But at the time, they had a lot of people graduating. They had Babak Mohammadi, who was a 2-time NCAA runner-up. They had Les Gutches, they had Chad Renner, they had Chad Flack, they had Glenn Naradka. They had all those guys that they had to keep them around, so they couldn't keep Troy around, and Troy was in a volunteer position, and they couldn't keep him around, so we understood it. But we knew we had to stay somewhat together. So I went to the University of Wisconsin, and Troy went to Minnesota, and he was there for a year. And then after 1 year, he came over to Wisconsin, largely because his wife got into physical therapy school at the university, and so it was just better for them, and it was a training situation for us where we could be together our last years of competing, and we knew that that was a huge part of our success was each other. And so now I'm fast forward to 2002, and now I've been an assistant coach at the University of Wisconsin for 6 years. My wrestling career is done after 2000, and I was getting antsy. I wanted to be in a head coach position, and I called USA Wrestling for a letter of recommendation. And Rich Bender, our executive director, said, "Of course, I'll give you a letter." And there was a job out on the West Coast, Division I job, and he said, "I'll give you a letter of recommendation." But he said, "What about this job?" I said, "What job?" He said, "The women's national coach." I was like, Rich, you got the wrong guy." And he was like, "Well, will you listen to me?" And reluctantly, I was like, "Yeah, I'll listen." He said, "I'm going to call you in a couple hours." So I go home, my wife's at home, and she knew I was calling Rich, and she said, "How did the call go?" And I said, "Good, but he threw this at me." She said, "What?" I said, "The women's national coach." And she was like, "Well, what do you think?" And I was like, "Did you hear what I said?" and she said, "Yeah, but it's an opportunity in the sport of wrestling. Why wouldn't you look at it?" And I left my house. We talked a little bit, and I left, and I was thinking, like, she's no help. She doesn't understand. Right? My brother lived a mile away. Went over to my brother's house, and remember, my trajectory was to be a Division I coach, Division I college coach, and that's where I always wanted to be. And all of a sudden, this curveball was being thrown at me, and at the time, the Title IX issue was being read completely wrong, and we were saying that because of it, we were losing men's programs and this and that. And I don't know if that's the right way to frame that, but that's how we did at the time, right? And it wasn't a popular thing. And so I went over to my brother's place, and I said, "I'm just afraid that if I would do something like this, I'll never get back into college wrestling, because I'll be held out by college coaches, and they're not going to like it. And it's kind of going against the grain." And he said, "I don't know if that's right." He said, "If you come back into college wrestling, you're going to be hired by administrators, not by college coaches. You're going to be coming back as a head coach." And he said, "They want to know you can work with everyone." And so I left my brother's place, the same thing. Like, the two people I'm closest to, my wife and my twin brother, they're no help to me at all, right? I was looking for a way out, and I couldn't find it. And then I really had to start thinking about, what am I doing? Why do I want to put my life's work into the sport of wrestling? What is it about this sport that keeps us in it? And I think I speak for all of us, right? I don't know, did we accomplish everything we wanted to accomplish? Probably not. I didn't either. Right? Who does? Who accomplishes everything they want to? I don't know. It's not many people. Right? But I knew that what the sport had given me, and what it gave my brother, and what it gave our family. Okay? And it was a lot more than just winning some wrestling tournaments. And I loved the development and the human development and the growth that we had, and how it brought our family together. And why should that be just for half the population? And that's what I started thinking. If this is right for young boys, then why isn't it right for young girls? If we can, why do we want to limit this to half the population if we can open it up for everyone? And so I started really thinking, like, maybe this is something, you know. And I told Rich Bender that, I said, I know that these girls deserve someone 100% behind them. I don't know if I'm the person to do it. And I said, now, if I can't come 100%, I'm not doing it. And I said, I need time. And so it's about 3 weeks later, and we're driving, and I'm just really struggling because I was so worried about what people were going to think. What are my peers going to think if I take this position? What's going to happen in my future if I ever want to come back in? Are there going to be doors back open? And we're driving home one night, and my wife said to me, I really hate how you're thinking. And I was like, well, it's not the first time, right? But she said, you know, I really hate how you're thinking. She said, you know, I was a young girl in the late 60s, early 70s. I was sitting in a rural gymnasium in North Dakota, where she grew up and I grew up. She said, I was sitting in a high school gymnasium listening to people boo and ridicule and harass. She said, what do you think I was watching? I said, I don't know what you were watching. She said, I was watching a girls' basketball. She said, they're not looking for a coach. They are, but they're looking for an advocate. They're looking for someone that's going to stand up and fight the fight so these girls don't have to fight. Right? So they don't have to go to their family members. They don't have to go to their brothers. They don't have to go to their administrators and their high school coaches and grassroots level coaches and fight to be on the team. You know, it's the start of something. And she said, furthermore, you have a young daughter. Fast forward to now, my daughter just graduated from high school. Right? So at the time, my daughter was 1.5 years old. And she said, what if she wants to follow in your footsteps? And I knew right then that it was the right thing to do. And I told Rich Bender, and I said, I'll take the job. And I said, because it is the right thing to do. Someone needs to fight and open up these opportunities. Right? Someone needs to stand up and start moving this forward. And I don't know if I'm the person to do it, but I'm going to try it. And at the time I told them, I said, I'll give you 2 years. I'll give you 2 years after the 2004 Olympics. I'm going to go back into college wrestling. And here I am 17 years later. Right? I found a purpose. Right? A lot larger than winning wrestling tournaments. Right? And so all I'm saying is, you know, and I hope I'm speaking to the choir. I felt like for a long time, I felt like I was fighting everyone. Right now, I feel like there's an army behind me, and an army behind the organization. So I don't know where you stand. Okay? I don't care where you stand. All I'm saying is, open your hearts. This sport is a great sport. We're spending our life's work in this sport. Okay? Not for championships and titles. I hope not. I hope there's a larger mission than that. Right? I mean, our goal at the USA Wrestling is very simple. The USOC is very simple. Win medals. They want medals. They want gold medals. That's the goal. The mission has to be, a medal is not going to get me up in the morning. Right? They tarnish. You lose them. That only lasts for so long, right? I mean, they're there forever, but the feeling is only there for so long, right? And then what? Right? Is this all it is? I remember when we first started, you know, Patricia Miranda, I'm getting off course a little bit, Patricia Miranda was our first Olympic medalist. And she had graduated top of her class at Stanford, had been part of the men's wrestling team there. She came to the training center, and day in, day out, we're on the mat 2 or 3 times a day, and she was like, wow, this is it. You know? And I said, that's the thing, you know. What people see is the finished product. They see the award stand, they see the glamour, they see you on TV, they see this and that. But the day-to-day of it, there's nothing beautiful about it, right? But you've got to find the passion in those days, right? You've got to find the beauty in those days. We have to have gold medal days before we're ever going to have a gold medal performance. So you don't have a gold medal day if you don't find that passion, right? And so whether you want to coach women or not, that's up to you, okay? But to stop the conversations, and I don't know if they're out there a lot anymore, maybe they are, that women don't belong in a wrestling mat, it's crazy. Okay? There's no place for it. Right? This mat is for everyone. Okay? No matter what shape and size, gender, whatever. Right? This mat is for everyone. And so, but I understand the struggle. I understand the internal struggle. And even after I accepted the position, right? All of a sudden I'm in the room the first time with the girls on the mat, and I'm showing technique, right? And I'm like, do I touch here? Do I touch there? Do I say chest? Do I say breast? I didn't even know how to explain my own sport. But when I walked out of that practice, I realized that this was not their problem. This was my problem, right? They were just here to learn. Do what you do. You know, I hear, well, what's the difference between coaching men and women? There's some differences. But coaching is coaching. I never coached women before I got into this, right? There's no book, right? It's like a parent. How do you parent a kid? I don't know how you parent a kid, right? Do what you do. Motivate your kids. Educate your kids. Have passion for what you do. And if you can do that, okay, nobody, the kids don't care what you've done, right? I've heard this a lot, like coaches come in and say, well, I never won a state title, I never won this or that, I just don't know, do I belong, should I be, I don't know, do you care about kids? That's what matters. If you care, you can move mountains, right? If you know how to explain something and break it down, that's all they care about. Do you think they care about when you walk through that door every day how many titles you've won? They could care less. You could win all the titles. If you can't help them be a better wrestler and a better human being, yeah, it doesn't matter, right? If you want to coach, there's a place for you, right? Learn how to break things down. Learn how to educate. We're educators. We're coaches, we're educators. Use the sport to move people forward, technically, emotionally, right? Psychologically. Move them forward. Help them handle life. I mean, look at our world. It's crazy. Who can't benefit from the struggles of this? Learning how to struggle and get yourself back up and deal with life head on. Teach them that every day. They're going to fail every day in front of you. You have an opportunity every day to pick them back up and show them how to pick themselves back up with dignity and grace and fall forward instead of falling back, right? My daughter never did wrestle, right? I wish she did, because I would have had those opportunities. Now, hopefully I've had them in other ways. She's failed in other ways, and hopefully she's learned from the messages. She's been around the sport more than most human beings, right? So she's heard the messages. She understands what it is to fail and get back up, right? That's the struggle I have as a coach, and maybe some of you, right? I'm spending all my time with someone else's kids. Make sure they're a part of it. Make sure your kids are a part of it, right? They can learn. My daughter never put a wrestling shoe on, right? She's heard the messages. She's been around the struggle. She's been around the success, right? She's had both. She's been influenced by this sport greatly, right? So understand the importance of what you're doing, right? That's the biggest thing. Understand the importance of what you're doing as a coach and the impact you have. A coach this day and age has greater impact than anyone. It's not about championships. You're going to have a kid that walks through that door that has 2 left feet, that can't walk and chew gum, okay? That doesn't matter, right? That person, this room, may be the last place that person's going to be reached, right? There has to be a larger purpose than just medals. Understand that, okay? I love this question was asked to me by one of my international friends. What's the difference between an artist and a coach? Think about that a little bit. The difference is, at the end of the day, an artist can throw his work away. A coach can't. You're going to influence people, positively or negatively. You're going to move people forward or hold people back. That's up to you. That's up to each and every one of us. If you're just concerned about winning and losing, you're going to crush a lot of souls. If you're in it for more than that, you're going to make a lot of strong people. A lot of people that know how to deal with life head on. A lot of people that know how to deal with adversity. That know how to pick themselves back up. That want to be a part and do the same thing and pay it forward to the next generation. Okay? You have a very important job. Okay? Understand that. Don't play with it. Be a professional. Okay? They're watching. Your athletes are watching you. Everything you do. Okay? Make sure you're the role model first. Then ask them to be a role model. Okay? They may not have it. It surprises, I don't know if it surprises me, but there's a lot of kids with tough lives, right? That do not, this is their only savior. Is this wrestling, right? Be there for them. Okay? Don't give them an easy time. Don't give them a free pass. Don't keep them accountable. Right? I'm not saying being easy on them, but open the door to them. I don't care what gender they are. Right? Someone said, well, you're the women's national team coach. No, I'm not. I'm a wrestling coach in charge of the women's program. I'm a wrestling coach. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl coming in that door. Okay? The door's open. They have a question. We're going to help. We're going to set them straight. Right? I hope you'd have the same philosophy, right? In your rooms. Open up those opportunities. Right? I mean, the movement that's happening right now, it's not only great for women's wrestling. Okay? It's great for the whole sport. We're inviting another half the population, another half, twice as many corporate sponsors. Someone that has an eye just to help the female sport, the female in the sport, right? They're coming into the sport, they're watching, right? You got parents in the stands with 3 boys and 3 girls. Now all of them can get excited about them, not just the boys, right? There's a place for everyone in this sport, and open up the opportunities. That's our jobs, right? Open up the opportunities, realize the influence you have, and find the passion in what you're doing. And that's not easy, right? That's not easy. But there's very few passionate people that are unsuccessful. If you're passionate about what you're doing, there's going to be some success along that. And success isn't just measured in medals. Okay? So that's all I got. Just, this weekend, you guys are here watching the final X, and you're going to see some remarkable matches, men and women, right? For me, it's the worst tournament in the world, right? Because half the people leave crushed, right? And it's so final. Now they're waiting another year, maybe forever, right? Maybe they're never going to get there, but I think that that's when it comes back to, it has to be more than just medals, right? Just because someone doesn't make our world team, doesn't make our Olympic team, does that mean they're a failure? Right? Reframe success. Right? There's a lot more to it than that. So, but it is hard because you're going to see very open wounds, right? You're going to see very scarred people. Until you help them through it and things like that. But that's what makes this sport great, right? And that's what makes a world medal or an Olympic medal so great, is it's so hard to attain, right? And, but the pursuit of it is an awesome thing. So, thank you.